Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, The Inked Reader. Today I am filming my August TBR for both comics and books. I'm gonna start with the comics this time and then I'm gonna go into the books, picking up a random shelf behind me. And if you're new, I'm gonna link down below the shelf TBR explanation I've done, although rules have slightly changed this year compared to 2022. I'm gonna put timestamps so you can jump around if you're not interested in the comics or in the books. And what I'm gonna do is usually I'm gonna give you the synopsis of comics in my TBRs because I'm not gonna give you the synopsis in my wrap-ups. So for this month, I don't want to place an order for comics because I did place quite a large order in July, and yeah, my bank account needs a rest for a month of August. So I'm gonna go through things I've owned already and have not read, apart from one reread. So I'm gonna finish Monstrous Volume 7. This is the last volume that is currently out of this steampunk fantasy series. I've been loving Monstrous. If you've been around, you've heard me speaking about Monstrous a bunch of times by now. And this is the story of MANGA Halfworth. She belongs to the race of Arcanics who have been at war with the humans on and off for centuries. The last war ended up in tragedy when something major struck, and now the war is coming back again because the tension never went away. And Micah specifically, she was a child when the last war ended, and you know, whatever happened to end the war, she was there, and there are leftovers inside of her from that war, and she has now to kind of make difficult choices. And she, in the first volume, she's on the path of finding artifacts that her mother was obsessed with and lost her life in researching and looking for. And she wants to piece together her story, what happened to her, what happened or that major event at the end of the war, and so on. And you just follow her and a bunch of other characters on these two sides, the Arcanics and the humans. I'm gonna try and show you some of the art that doesn't spoil anything. Maybe I can show you the very end. The creators, like here. This looks nice to show you without getting any spoilers. I am afraid of these now taking ages before releasing a new volume, because this is a layered world where if you miss something, then it becomes quite hard to catch up. I had to reread the first 3 volumes to really appreciate this series. So if you have not tried Monstrous, maybe I would suggest to wait until it's all done. I'm gonna continue on with a couple of volumes of One Piece because I own the first 23 volumes. These are something I can always reach out for. So I'm gonna read volume 7 and volume 8 of these pirates. The most famous manga ever, probably. So really, do you need a synopsis? It's about Luffy trying to put together a crew and find this treasure, and he's now putting together his crew, and it's just funny, it's a good time, and it's One Piece. I'm also gonna read, because I own The Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime. This is volume 4. This is a series that I bought the box set and then I never enjoyed the volume past volume 1. So that teaches me a lesson, although I must say that the cost of the box set was minimal compared to how much I would have spent in just purchasing the 6 single volumes that were contained in the box set. So I don't regret anything. I got cool stickers. I might eventually sell my box set. We will see how it goes in the last 3 volumes I have to read. This is, in the first volume, you follow this not middle-aged man, but 40-ish years old man who one day saves his colleague by an attack, and he ends up being stabbed and dying, and he reincarnates in this fantasy world as a slime creature that can wield powers, magic powers, and is very much powerful. It does have like a structure almost like a video game, and I don't understand why, but somehow this has not been working well with me, despite me liking video games. But it just doesn't translate well in a manga format. For me personally, this is very much a me thing. Nothing wrong with it. But yeah, I've been struggling a bit with this, and this month, since I'm not purchasing anything, I might as well just put a volume in and try and read it. Something I'm actually very much looking forward to read is Vagabond, the Viz editions, which contains 3 normal volumes, and this is an historical fiction manga inspired by the true story of the most famous Ronin, or samurai at least, in Japan. Is heavily fictionalized, but the inspiration behind it's not. Can I show you this? There is blood in it, so this is probably not. Oof, I'll try this. I just love the aesthetic of Vagabond. I like how Yes, it is very slow. Usually that is something that could potentially pull me off, but the art and the character reminds me a bit of Guts from, you know, my favorite manga series ever. It's keeping me glued to the pages, and honestly just enjoying the art. And I know, because I've heard many people speaking about Vagabond and how it's bigger than the sum of its parts and how, you know, an amazing story it is, I am just enjoying the ride, knowing that it's a bit slow and knowing that it will take time for me to fully grasp how big and how magnificent this series is. I'm okay with it now, but because again the art makes it so easy to just enjoy and appreciate it. There are big panels, not too many dialogues, a lot of action, which is very well done. Like the action scenes are very well fleshed out, which is something that I pick up on. If the fight scenes are not the best, I'm sorry, I love One Piece, but fighting scenes not the best. In here they are so well done. Like it's clear who's bleeding, who's losing its head. Like it's very action, which is, I can imagine how difficult it is to draw. It's so well done that I'm also appreciating this series because of that. Toradora volume 7. I missed Toradora. I didn't read the volume in July. I took a break because I didn't have this in my hands, so I purchased one volume and I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna show you just this page because I don't want to give you any spoilers. Toradora is my feel good go-to, although this is not feel good, this is a horror manga, and it's the sort of Kaiman who's been transformed in this huge lizard by a dark sorcerer, and he needs to find out who transformed him, who made him into this big monster that has a human head inside his mouth that appears sometimes, because he wants to understand where it's coming from, what was his story when he was human, and how he could potentially go back to being human. And you follow some of his friends in this dystopian kind of world where people are used as guinea pigs by this dark sorcerers that live in another world and access the human world through a portal, for portals actually. So humans are basically cattle used for his experiments, and it's a very bleak, grim, horrorish world, but the mind of this woman, it's hilarious, it's gory, and has a good plot mystery underneath it all. I'm loving Toradora. I've been loving Toradora for a year now. So yeah, continue on. A very much feel-good series, Rick and Morty. This is, I don't know if it's volume 6, I don't know, I don't understand why they don't put the bloody numbers on it, but to be fair, they're self-contained volumes. National, Rick Poon's Family Vacation. This does the same thing as watching an episode of Rick and Morty. Same art, same humor, same craziness in it, and I'm just here for it. It's a perfect read for a summer afternoon outside in the garden, just to have a good time. So yeah, reading these when I need a break from more heavy stuff. Then a series that I've not picked up in a long time, but I didn't mind it when I read the first volume. However, I'm pretty sure I read volume 2 already, but I didn't mark it, which usually I do with a year that I read stuff in. So I will double check that I've read volume 2, and if I ever I will just read volume 3. If not, I'm gonna read both of them. But this is Godchild, and I think I need to read volume 3 to be fair. And this is a shoujo beat manga, which I've not read many this year at all. I'll show you some of the art. So this is the creator of Angel Sanctuary, which I've not read, but I know this is a spin-off series, and you follow Kane, who is this kind of count that he had to become the head of his household when his father passed away. This takes place in 19th century, and you just follow him around solving cases that have a supernatural twist to it. And I did enjoy the first volume because I discovered this when I was reading, I did a challenge on my channel 3 years ago now probably, where I've read the 10 most weird manga ever written, and so that's how I got around to know about Godchild. I'll link down that challenge and wrap up for that challenge if you want, which I had a lot of fun in doing, but it's a very old video. And yeah, I found out about these, and it's quite episodic, so not my favorite kind of read when it comes into comics or books, to be fair. Like, I don't love episodic stuff. However, every case was pretty up and weird, so yeah, I just felt like it's been more than a year since I read the volume, almost like a year and a half, if not 2, and I just want to go back to it and see if I want to continue on with the series or give up on it. I'm gonna continue on with Jujutsu Kaisen volume 3. This is a series that again I reread the first 2 volumes, first volume at least, and appreciated more on the second read. it's a very complex synopsis. I don't know why every time I get stuck, but you just, in this world, if you consume pieces of this demon, you can acquire immense powers, whether you risk to destroy the whole world and, you know, kind of raise hell on earth, something of the sort. Therefore, our main protagonists, you got one, but you follow a bunch of characters around him as well, are tasked to defend the world from this demon and trying to find these pieces of a demon, so then, you know, bad guys can't consume them. And they actually have an academy to train people to keep the world safe. And yeah, you just follow someone who had to make a difficult choice in order to then be able to save the world, and in the process of it he had to sacrifice himself to a certain degree. This is a series that I initially started reading while I was reading Chainsaw Man, and that didn't work out because the comparison made me not enjoy this much, but now that I am just focusing on these, I'm enjoying these way more. I'm also continuing on finally with Spy Family. I had not found volume 4 for ages, and now I found it on a very cheap website, but it's a bit damaged here. It's not damaged, but it's like they didn't cut it properly. Don't mind anyway. Spy Family, it's all over the place. Yes, I will check out the anime eventually, but I want to finish the series first. And this is the story of a spy who has to make a fake family in order to infiltrate elite school in order to access certain people in the society. So he finds a wife that he doesn't know she's an assassin, and she doesn't know he's a spy, and they adopt a child she's a telepath, so she can read thoughts, and she knows all the secrets, but they don't know that she's a telepath. And the girl is sent to this school to infiltrate, and it's just cute and funny. And there are, you know, the two main protagonists, which is his fake marriage. They're not together, but I'm really shipping them together, so I hope we'll get there eventually. Last couple of things for manga. We've got volume 4. Yeah, I believe it's volume 4 actually, for Kurosagi, the Kurosagi Corpse Delivery Service. This is the bind up edition, and it looks like $1,000,000. I love them on my shelves. Took me ages to purchase the 5th, and I'm afraid last volume in Japan. There are more volumes out, but I don't know if Dark Horse will ever publish the rest of the series, translate the rest of the series, but that's all. So I'm got this volume and one more, and this is about this bunch of kids at university that struggle with money, and so they put together a corpse delivery service because they happen to have powers linked to the supernatural, so they can find dead bodies, and they make a living out of finding dead bodies and reunite them with families, or, you know, revenge the bodies or getting justice for them. And it's crazy, it's paranormal, but it's full of Japanese lore, and I'm learning just so much by going through these. It does remind me of like a very, like, it's not the same vibe, but it's kind of a similar concept to Scooby-Doo, just with dead bodies rather than ghosts. And it's hilarious, the dynamics between the team. Although this is episodic, some of the stories and the lore that this explores, and how much I'm learning about the culture in Japan, which is something that I've never experienced or know very little about, I am fully appreciating this, not only for, you know, entertainment, but also for what it leaves me with. So yeah, I'm loving these, and this is it's a series I've never heard anybody speaking about before, so I'm kind of proud that I am one that reads this underrated series, and I've been loving this series for a long while now. And the last one before I go on to books is actually a reread, and it's something that I postpone to reread because then I will have to continue on, and I'm collecting these in editions that are so expensive. But I've got 4 volumes already. It's gonna take me 4 months before I even reach a point where I need to purchase something else, and I might, let's see how it goes. So I'm not gonna commit myself to purchasing all the rest of the series, but I keep staring at it, and it's time for me to reread the first volume, well, the bind up the first volume and moving on, and that is Hellboy, volume 1. So yes, I have the massive, this is called, it's in the library edition, I think so. So this is what it looks like. It's like, it looks like a school book, or like, you know, a coffee table book. It's immense. Like, look at my face and look at this book. Yes, I am tiny, so my face is not big, but compared to a normal volume, you know. And you might say that it's a manga, Eva, it's a manga, Eva, it's a graphic novel. Yes, Hellboy is a graphic novel. Whoa, it's going. Look, so this is a normal volume. Is it? Can't even see it. and this is Hellboy. So I've watched movies before, so that's how I first got in contact with, you know, first I heard about Hellboy through the movies, as maybe some of us have, and Hellboy is this demon that is evocated by, like, summoned by the Nazis, but when he emerges he is a baby, and then a professor takes him under his wing, and so he kind of raises him to do good rather than doing what the Nazi wanted. And I don't remember anything about this volume just because I read it probably 5 years ago, if not more. So I'm gonna go back to these. It's stunning. Like, I love editions like these or graphic novels just because I can appreciate, I'm trying to show you guys but it's very difficult, the art, and some of the pages are like black, see, and some pages are then white. So yeah, I've got 4 of these volumes, and I don't even know if they're out of print now or not, how much they're gonna cost me to continue on. We will see. I got a few months before, so I'm gonna read volume 1 again of Hellboy, and then I will continue on hopefully in September with volume 2 and so on. Okay guys, I'm gonna generate a number, and then I'm gonna let you know which number comes out eventually, because you know this is gonna take a while.
Eventually.
Okay, we got winner number 11, which is the blue books here. So I'm gonna show you the shelves, and I'm gonna go through the books I've had to read and I've not read yet. So here is the shelf. These are my dark to light books. So I'm gonna remove my Funko Pops and stuff. Hi Dean Winchester, who's also a fan of Supernatural. Like, I love Supernatural. Shouldn't be too bad. Oh, actually, I'm looking forward to reading the second installment in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series. So, A Restaurant at the End of the Universe, I have to read. I've read this recently. On Earth We Are Brutally Gorgeous, so this stays on the shelf. I have to read Spin the Dawn. I've read Cold in July. Joe R. Lansdale is one of my favorite authors, and I will probably speak about him at some point, but yeah, I've read this. The next one I've not read, Song of Forever Rains. Look at this cover. Look, it's amazing. A fairy loot that I never got around to read, and maybe at this point I can, because it's on the shelves, is Silver in the Bone. This is from a couple of months ago. Never got around to read these, so I'm going to attempt. Stiletto is another sequel I need to read. The first book is, I don't remember, I'm going to let you know. Tower of Dawn I have read by Sergio Mas. Oh, here it is, Piranesi. Finally, I can get around to read these. I've read another like kind of mythological book this month, and I really, really love them. So I need to get my hands on more of them. Piranesi with perfect follow-up to that. Actually, probably, I hope this is going to be one of my favorite reads of the year. Another book I've not read, Twin Crowns. This is something that came with a fairy loot. Like sometimes I have an additional paperback, and that is what this was. I have read House of Sky and Breath, and I'm still screaming about the ending. Pure, I don't know if this is the second book. Oh yes, so actually this is the second book in a series by Jennifer L. Armentrout, which is like my guilty pleasure YA reads, and I've not read this one, so I'm gonna read this. Another book I'm really looking for is Hamnet. It's a retelling of like a story of Shakespeare and his family in particular. Really looking forward to reading this. And A Good House! Yes! This was like a pick on my book club that they didn't choose. And I was kind of disappointed that this wasn't chosen because I really wanted to read it. So I'm gonna read it now. It's a horror. The Assassin's Blade I've read, as well as this is the Count of Monte Cristo. I've read it, so I don't have to read it. Oof, that's a lot. Salt to the Sea I've not read, and I want to read it. Okay, Lux I have read by Armentrout. That's actually the first series I've read by Armentrout. The Fault in Our Stars, of course, I've read. Frozen Charlotte I have read and really liked. Wonder I've read and really liked. Oh, not the sequels. I think 2 sequels I'm really looking forward to read. The Empress. I really enjoyed The Diabolic at some point either this year or the year before, so I'm going to read the sequel. And One of my favorite reads of the year, the Ninth Reign. This is the sequel, The Bitter Twins. So much looking forward to reading this. This is an amazing shelf with a lot of unread books that I'm really looking forward to read. Okay, I'm gonna randomly pick them up and tell you about the synopsis. So I've got Stiletto, which is the sequel to The Rook. This is what it was, and this is massive, so wish me good luck. And in the first book, you basically follow a secret society, but for magic, and you have to protect England from, you know, mages. And you follow particularly this main protagonist who wakes up and she is not in her body anymore, and she doesn't have any memories or something of the sort. It's kind of complex understanding what happened to her. She works with this secret society though, and she needs to protect the world, specifically England, from like magic threats. So yeah, reading the sequels just because the protagonist had a lot of spunk. I really liked her and I wanted to continue on, and I believe there's no third book out, but eventually there will be. I might be wrong on this, don't quote me on this. Then I'm gonna read my first Ruta Sepetys. I've tried to read another one by her, Salt to the Sea, no, Salt to the Sea, this is Salt to the Sea, the other one about concentration camp, another month of the year, and couldn't get hold of it, so hopefully I will get around to read this in August. This is a retelling based on the worst tragedy that ever happened at sea. So it's these people that are fleeing from different countries, trying to travel to, I don't know if to America or something, and then we already know, because, you know, it's set from a book is inspired by a tragedy as it happens at sea, that this boat sinks, and I guess all people on it die, something of the sort. I'm not sure, we will see. Warsaw in Germany, so it's people escaping from World War II, and you follow 4 young people that have secrets and they embark on this journey, but again, I guess I know the end, but maybe it should surprise me, we'll see. Then this came with Fairlude. Look at the pages, they're so stunning. I don't know much about these and not heard about this being talked around BookTube, but it looks so pretty, to be fair. And this is the story of these 2 sisters. One, she sits on the throne and she needs to defend the kingdom against witches, and the other one, she's kept secret and she's raised to actually defeat the current queen or princess so she can support the witches to thrive. So yeah, it seems like these 2 sisters, they probably don't know they're sisters, they are pitched against each other, but you know, by their upbringing. And I guess they're gonna come together, or there's gonna be a war between them. I don't know. Silver in the Bone, she wrote lore, which I've not read, and this is again the Fairlight edition. If I remember which unboxing this was, I'm gonna link it down below so you can have a review of this beautiful book. But this is about this girl. She scours the world for artifacts, and specifically now she's after an Arthurian ring artifacts that hopefully can help her save her brother, and she has to team up with the enemy to go and get this ring and save her brother. I don't know anything else about this. I know it's a YA and I'm a bit scared of YA. I've not heard many things about these, so again that makes me a bit hesitant in picking this up, but I've got it. It came with Fairloot. It looks stunning and I do want to eventually read it so I know what to do with it. Okay, this has a very complex synopsis and I don't want to butcher it, so this is also an occasion to say that I do believe that with books I need to give you a quick synopsis, my wrap-ups as well, because sometimes the synopses are either giving too much away or they're confusing, they're not exactly what I think the book is about. So yeah, so the main protagonist in this, she has some powers with her voice, so her voice is very powerful, it sounds amazing. I don't know if it's like magic voice or something, and she is tasked to go and poison the bride of the duke that is kind of, you know, the head of his kingdom. But when she goes there, she kind of falls for either his son, I believe, that might inherit the throne. And she also finds out that the whole kingdom is a threat. So she has to team up with his son, whether it is to save the kingdom. I don't know anything else about these. I just know that she's sent to kill someone. So she's sent there as an assassin under disguise. And she has power with her voice. She has a beautiful voice, kind of like a siren voice. I don't know if she has the same effect as a siren voice or just she has a beautiful voice. At the back it just says, "Welcome to the world of Adilor, where lords and ladies can be murderers and thieves, and the most alluring notes are often the deadliest. Dare to listen?" I don't know anything else. I hate reading synopses when I'm doing this video, so I'm not gonna read it. I just read the very last part of it, but I'll let you know more if I get around to read this. Then I've got Spin the Dawn. This is a very popular YA that went around a couple of years ago, and I found this in a Waterstone and it looked very nice, the cover, so I picked it up. And this is the story of this girl. She dreams to become a tailor, but she lives in a small village and she doesn't have any money, and she just unfortunately will have to marry and just give up her dreams, until one day there is a summoning for a competition where she can compete to become like the emperor tailor. So she disguises herself as a guy and travels to the emperor palace to take part in this competition. Pure. This is the sequel to, I don't remember what it was called. It's Half-Blood actually. This is a very guilty pleasure read, and you follow a girl in the first book whose mother is murdered by this vampire, and she's not vampire, she's an half-blood. So vampires are like the elite. They're not called vampires, daemon they're called, and I'm not even sure if they're vampires, but similar. They're demons sort of creatures, so they're the elite, and half humans and half vampire, whether it is, are considered scum. But they can also kind of become guardians for them, kind of like Vampire Academy style. It's the Armentrout version of Vampire Academy, just with the other creatures in it basically. So continuing with the sequel, because I like the main protagonist of Armentrout. They are problematic, but they have character, and their romantic interest is always interesting. As I said, there are love triangles and stuff in action, so it's just entertaining. And I'm gonna continue on. And these books, I purchased the whole series just because of how good they look. The Restaurant at the End of the Universe, the sequel to The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. This is a classic, and I've always wanted to continue on, although I know that the first book is probably the most famous, and I don't know how it's gonna turn out, the sequels, but I'm gonna try. And the first book, you follow this man whose best friend one day comes knocking at his door, takes him to a pub and just says, listen, we have to leave Earth because Earth is about to be destroyed, I'm an alien, come with me. And he just goes on this crazy ride around the galaxy. So yeah, continue on. It was hilarious, it was so good. The first book that made into my like favorite reads of 2022. So that is a statement in itself, that's saying something, and I really hope to enjoy the sequel as much as that, and maybe even more, but that's maybe wishful thinking. I'm gonna also continue on with the sequel to The Diabolic. This is Empress, which is a YA dystopian sci-fi story, which is very out of my comfort zone, but I really enjoyed the plot of the first book and really enjoyed the writing and the characters. And in the first book, specifically, you follow Nemesis. She, in this world, you can create this kind of robots. They are not human, they are humanoid though. They can take the same physical aspect as humans, and specifically you follow Nemesis, who's the humanoid that looks like this kind of princess or daughter of a noble that has to go and become like a living in hostage situation with the ruling family, because you know there are tensions between the girl's family and the ruling family. She's required to go and live with the emperors or like, you know, the ruling family, and they send Nemesis in her stead looking like her, and then the plot goes from there. And it's crazy, it's full of plot twists, and it's very like political, and I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the writing, and I thought immediately that I needed to continue on with the series, so I purchased the sequel. Another sequel is The Bitter Twins. This is a epic high fantasy, it's a trilogy. In the first book you follow 3 characters specifically, and they're all different races. One is human, one she's kind of a witch, and the other one is kind of this, I imagine in my mind a bit like Avatar, but it's not, it's called something else. So you follow these 3 characters that come together for a series of events and need to investigate the origin of the enemy that in this world has been coming back over and over again, trying to conquer and bring destruction every time. But thus far the humans and these other races have managed to banish this enemy, but now whoever was keeping the world up for a good fight is dying, and so we need to find out more about the enemies, because so they can be ready when the enemy returns and they won't be overwhelmed despite them not having the same tools to defend themselves. I'm just gonna leave it so vague that I basically said nothing about the plot, but this is one that would really benefit from you going inside without knowing much. And I have heard some people saying that the lore is similar to a bit of like Elder Ring lore, and it's full of it, and there is like this adventure side and discovering this enemy and where they're coming from, and it's very fascinating. Plus good writing, good characters, and amazing like dynamics between them. Hamlet. This is the story of Shakespeare. Specifically, actually, you follow the family of Shakespeare after they lose a son. And I don't know anything else about this literature fiction, historical fiction. I've heard it's amazing, it's so well written, and I'm ready for it because I know very little about Shakespeare's story. So I want to know more, and this is the perfect occasion to do so. The Good House. This is a horror story that, as I said, I wanted to propose to my book club, but something else was picked instead. And you just follow this family that used to live in this house, and then they have a loss, like a child I think dies. So they move out, and eventually they decide to move in after a few years to try to process the loss, but also they try to understand if this house is indeed haunted. And I think the family believes that the family is a family of witches, so they are discriminated, they're left aside compared to other people in the village. And you follow, someone dealing with grief, but also trying and find out the story of his house and, the story of the family. Are they indeed witches? Are they indeed cursed, or whether it's the case? Again, I understand that these are very vague synopsis, but I will let you know more once I read it. I don't want to know too much though, because I think the synopsis is quite lengthy at the back and I don't want to get spoiled. So yeah, I've heard that this is a slow but very rewarding horror in the end, and I've been now seeing these all going all over booktube, especially from YouTubers that love horror books, and I couldn't miss this out, and I'm so pumped that I had an occasion to read these. And the last one is Piranesi, which I know nothing about. I know that you follow Piranesi, which is a mythological creature from ancient Greece, and he lives in this house where a messenger starts appearing, and he needs to find out more about them. I think this is the Women's Prize Fiction for 2021, and it's actually the winner. And I believe in these bunch of books you just saw, I have 3 of them, or at least 2 of them, of winners, and I've read a winner or a shortlisted book in July and really enjoyed it overall. Again, I love mythology, I especially Greek myths, and so retellings for me are usually a safe bet. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to these, and I do hope that I will love these as much as other people did. So yeah, that's it guys. Let me know what you're gonna read this month, anything you've read, and let me know what you thought. No spoilers, because this is just a TBR. But yeah, I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching. If you're new, I would love for you to subscribe. The button is down below. I'll see you next time. Take care of yourself. Ciao!